Today, we're going to be discussing all things Tyler Robinson. We're talking about the caliber of the bullet, the supposed 30-06 that was used. I have a guest today, Mark Feltner, a certified bodyguard who has done extensive research. And this information, this evidence is new. You're not going to hear it on Candace. You're not going to hear it on Barron. And I got to tell you, anyone who has ever watched Joe Rossano's show knows we don't do conspiracies here. I am nonfiction. And this evidence made me say, wow. So you're going to want to tune into this one today. Welcome to the Joe Rossano Show. Part 2 here.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to be looking at, what Beddoes looks like, etc. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they seem like they got pretty similar builds, the two guys, but honestly, doesn't look like him there. I'm just saying that they were arrested, where they said Tyler James Robinson was arrested was actually where, when I said they, I mean the FBI and mainstream media said Tyler J. Robinson was arrested in Washington County. So that's how we came to Tyler J. Beddoes. I'm just going to say up front that, making accusations against someone who was in law enforcement or is in law enforcement, or like I said, was previously or is currently in law enforcement is not necessarily a smart move. But I did send this to the FBI and I did send it to two police departments. So they're either aware of it or they've written it off as conspiracy. So if there was going to be legal consequences for implementing the involvement of, mentally unstable police officers, and we'll get to that later. If someone was going to come out and say, "Hey, you can't say that. That's defamatory. That you got the wrong guy," they've had since September to do so. You would think that I would get something in the mail. So I just want to clarify that, what I'm about to say is quite heavy. And, just by trying to put the dots together, I have answered a question a lot of people should know and have the right to know is, did he work with somebody? Was he working with somebody? So now we got a name, to fill in that blank, and
All right,
where,
and
yeah,
that's where we'll pick back up then. So, Mark Feltner, there was, as we discussed, an arrest within 4 hours. Two suspects, Tyler James Robinson, the alleged assassin, and a former or current police officer, Tyler James Beddoes. Now, let me be very clear. We are not accusing anyone of anything. We are just pointing out what the arrest records show and the similarities between Mr. Robinson and Mr. Beddoes.
yeah,
Before we continue, I think that Mr. Feltner and I wanted to make that very clear. We agree on this, Mr. Feltner?
yeah. Looks like I'm not the only one worried worried about somebody might, send something in the mail.
No, I mean, again, what we do is report here, and what we are reporting are facts. We are not saying that officer or Mr. Beddoes had anything to do with this, but what we are reporting is that these two individuals, Tyler James and Tyler James, were arrested right around the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that would give any reasonable person grounds to believe that that's just strange. So let's take a look at it, and then what we do here is we'll let the audience decide.
I
as
just
to what
put it
they
there,
think.
you know? That's all I wanna do. I just wanna put this out there and say, you know, here's what you've all been thinking, and here's some actual tangible facts, and let people soak it up. Okay, there.
Okay, so here we go. We have
Go back
then
up 1 to
right
12.
here. We we have
Okay.
we have Tyler J. Beddoes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And reasonable suspicion, former police officer who believes angels exist, Tyler J. Beddoes allegedly arrested similar time and place as Tyler J. Robinson. And these records indicate that what you have provided is a fact. I mean, this officer was arrested at that time frame. His name is Tyler James Beddoes, is it not? I mean, we're all on the same page here. And this is what he looks like, correct?
From what I can tell, to the best of my knowledge, this is the guy.
Okay. So, and he was arrested uh for what was he actually charged with, or what were the allegations?
Can you read it there? Because it's small on my end. Assault.
It says okay, assault, and there were some other things that he did,
2
right? Like
domestic violence
that
child.
okay, domestic violence and assault. All right. I mean that is close enough.
Unlawful
So,
detention.
Tyler
Yeah.
J. Beddoes' booking records eerily similar to Tyler J. Robinson. The appearance of the shooter is very similar to both men as well. Height, body weight, eye color are also similar. The only difference is hair color. Utah County Jail is located in Spanish Forks, Utah, the exact police department that Tyler J. Beddoes works for. This would point at the possible cover up. So, again, in talking not only to the viewer, but to me, like we are 5-year olds, what does this finding, quote unquote, allege? No one is accusing anyone. This is we are just reporting here what we found. Mr. Feltner, again, take us through these uh these two slides. This is seems to be booking information. These are images of then Officer Beddoes,
Well, there's
and this go ahead.
there's not much on him, other than the fact that he kind of blew up. He had like some kind of spiritual um, encounter or something, and not just him. There was 3 or 4 other officers, I think, that heard or saw the same thing. Um, and it was documented, and there was several different talk shows about him, and he wrote some books, and that's just what I could find. And you know, I kind of think if you put sunglasses on somebody and you have a crappy CCTV camera, that might look like the same person, you know. Um, and we'll get to the other reasons why. I think that there was some involvement. Um, the evidence from what I saw, I would say is uh, pointing to that, pointing to involvement of a larger party. But yeah,
This next slide is what Tyler J. Beddoes is not currently listed. I may need my glasses here. On the chain of command at Spanish Forks PD, Beto's department is listed to be 18 minutes by car from the UVU campus. It's odd to be arrested almost 3 hours away from your workplace when you are a police officer, especially if it's 18 minutes from the assassination near your work area. So basically, this finding points to what?
Well, he was familiar with the area for sure. I don't know if he was employed at that time with Spanish Forks PD, but he currently seems to be have been residing in Washington County, which is, you know, very far, uh, very far from uh, where he works and where the shooting took place. So I don't know if it looks like the reason, the one thing I wanted to explain was Spanish Forks doesn't have him listed as an employee anymore. So during his interviews, and we're talking, when I say his, I mean Mr. Beddoes, during his interviews, he discussed that he had problems coping with his work, drinking, self-medicating, depression, alcoholism.
And this from Mr. Beddoes himself. This
Yeah,
is
it's a whole
documented,
video.
correct?
I believe I sent you the link for you to watch, but
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay.
he
Well, just wanted to
struggled with,
clarify that for
yeah,
the viewers. Go ahead.
there's a whole, but I mean, people can watch this and they can go look it up for themselves, because it's all publicly available. I put those links in there so people can see that this is all things that if you want to make things up in your mind, there's a better explanation for it if you just take the time to, use publicly available tools. You can do a lot with it. And that's what I've done. So this slide particularly shows that this guy, was had worked in that area. He was a police officer, and he did, in fact, um, I want to say confess, but he did uh, relate to audiences that he had problems coping with his mental conditions while he was a police officer. So I don't want to go much more into that until we start going down into the other slides. And then,
Okay.
okay,
So what am I looking at here? Other suspicious records on 3/31/2025. Um, what
supposedly,
what is suspicious about this?
supposedly that's Tyler Robinson's dad. That's what the FBI and Hubita is telling everybody, that uh, Matthew Thomas is Tyler Robinson's dad. Uh, so if
Is
you look,
Tyler Robinson's father, correct?
if you look through Utah County Jail, about a third of the names, 5 of the 15 names listed in inmates, both male and female, are names of his brother, mother, father, very similar, and sometimes very so. Unless the entire Robinson family was just psychopaths and they were all locked up in that same jail 3 hours from where they were living, supposedly, then, you know, this is just like a coincidence. So I don't believe that. I don't believe it's a coincidence that there's, his entire family that the media's named is um, been booked in that jail. So either they're all psychopaths or we're being lied to, and you know, um, it would make kind of sense that they would want to conceal his family members. People might get death threats, um, you know, but this is a bit. I mean, you would think that they would be a more, more secretive than to just pull names off of booking records, where people could easily go and try and find, answers.
Okay, so Utah County inmate details. What is so suspicious about this particular slide? That seems to be Tyler Robinson. Is that allegedly his mother in this image?
Yeah, and the media has also pointed out that Amber Lynn Robinson is his mother. So apparently she did time in Utah County Jail. So both his mother and father allegedly had, what is that? London Justice Court not holding on this charge. Oh, driving under the influence, first offense in 10 years. So you can actually see the charges on Matthew Thomas too, if you want to go back up. It's up to you. But yeah, I mean, unless his entire family's got criminal history, uh,
So,
you
in
know,
other words, what you are saying is Tyler Robinson, Tyler Robinson's father, and Tyler Robinson's mother, according, let's be very clear, according to these public records, all were arrested out and were held in the Washington County jail. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. They at one point in time, not all that, not all the near this shooting, not all the same day of the murder, but at one point in time, it seems like his mom and dad were just, you know, uh, hell on wheels drunks. Just,
Well,
you know,
but how far is Washington County from where this jail, from where the Robinsons live, where they resided?
I think I covered that in the slide, but from what I saw what I heard in the initial media was it was 3.5 hours drive from
So
Washington County.
basically, what this looks like is uh, Amber Robinson, is it Thomas Robinson, and Tyler Robinson were arrested at different times for different reasons, 3 hours away from where they reside.
Yes. So what I'm saying is either his entire family is a bunch of, yeah, five, I think one of the five names, yeah. I mean, either his entire family was just ridiculous, degenerate criminals and all had to go to jail at one point in time in the same place, or somebody said, "Hey, Bob, I need a bunch of names for the Robinson family. Can you cook something up?" And Bob was like, hey, oh yeah. He uh, pulls them off the jail records. That's, I mean, it's either or because, like I said, it can only be a coincidence so many times until it's an actual um, pattern of evidence, a pattern of behavior, something. So I think five of the 15 names in Utah County Jail were either Tyler Robinson or exact similar names of his family name or his family. One of the five
So
names
there
was,
was a whole bunch of Robinsons in here,
yeah,
then, correct?
and Matthew Thomas Robinson was listed as his mother, and uh, was it Robin? What was her name? That was the name the
So
media
we
gave.
have
Yeah.
Thomas Matthew Robinson was Tyler Robinson's father. We agree on this.
That's what I was told. Yes, that's what the media told
And
everybody.
Amber Lynn Robinson was Tyler Robinson's mother.
That is also what the media and the FBI have told people. that his father was an
Okay. And they have all seemed to have been arrested. All these Robinsons, including Tyler the son, Amber the mother,
yeah,
and Thomas the father, correct? According again to these public records. These are not records that you found on the ground. These are public available records,
for
correct?
everybody to see. Yes, you can go to Utah. I mean, you can go to the Utah County Jail and pull up inmate records very easily, and that's what I did. I just put it in a PowerPoint, so maybe one day somebody
So
will
we
look
could see
at
it.
it. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So the next slide is
Okay.
there's substantial reason to concern the shooter had connections to police or was trained by police. The shooting was 156.35 meters from the edge of the Veterans Success Center, and the shooter then climbed and scaled his way down, placing his feet at a small ledge. He did not simply jump. His approach indicated that he possibly had been trained and had experience doing rappelling or some other type of training in a dangerous environment. All this occurred at 115.16 meters from the campus police department, indicating a huge lack of awareness or possible cover up by the police. So to the left, that is Tyler Robinson, according to these slides. That's Tyler Robinson jumping off the roof onto that ledge and making his escape. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looks like he was, hanging on a bit and trying to place his feet down. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's how he got down there, but basically that is a paused image of the video that the FBI released from, not too good quality closed circuit video. But it does look, it's hard to
Looks
say,
like a human being to me. I mean,
dangling off of the roof, you know. When you're going down from that height, I don't want, this is not very proud of me, and I'm not very proud to say this, but I have jumped off of a three-story building once, and I did not injure myself. Okay, and that was I got locked in my apartment in Malaysia uh, with the woman that I was living with, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But I basically jumped off the balcony, and and you have a natural tendency to want to lower yourself as much as you possibly can before you just jump off. And somehow
of
I,
course.
yeah, I mean, I managed to land my feet on the rail below and then kind of almost Spider-Man like. I don't want to brag. It's not a very bright time in my life, but it can be done, you know. But I have had training on how to fall. I have a very long martial arts background, and I do know how to fall, and I do know how to uh, get back up properly, so I'm not exposing myself. So what I'm trying to say is, it didn't look like he just jumped. He practiced. It looked like he had practiced this. Um,
Yeah, I mean, he's hanging from the roof, so the fall isn't as far, correct?
yeah, I mean, as human, do you want to jump off? If you had to jump off of a two-story building, would you hesitate? I'm asking you. Would you hesitate? I mean,
Yeah, of
you
course I would.
you had to jump out, you'd probably hesitate and you'd probably try and get as low uh,
Yeah, I would probably try to
off
hang off of it as
something
much as possible. So, yeah, so I didn't fall any further. I would try to take as many feet off of that fall
5'11",
as
so if I can
possible.
dangle off, yeah. If I can dangle off, I take 6 feet off the wall, you know? So we as human beings have a natural tendency to do that. And what I was saying was looking at the way people are saying you take down a rifle, it takes a you know a familiar person with a rifle, those bolt actions about 3/4 of a minute, about 45 seconds with a screwdriver. Okay, but it doesn't come apart in little bitty pieces that you just stick in your pants. Um, but I did not see, you know, 43 seconds of, from the time the shot was taken to him running off that building. So a lot of people said, oh, the rifle was in the towel when he dropped down, you know, questionable. But what is fact is that it's extremely close to the police department. And I think the next slide shows that more, how far the police department actually was, you know. Uh,
Okay, Tyler's on one roof, and the police department is basically about what
400 feet,
50 yards from, give or
150
take,
meters.
meters. Back here in the US, 115.6 meters. For those of us who skipped the metric system, how far was that?
It's comparable to yards. So a yard is 3.3 feet. It's comparable to that. Uh, just think about it. Just think 115 yards, So uh, he was about a football field away from the police department there at the campus. So 400 feet, something like that. 1.15 times 3.3 is about 400, something like that. And then this
Now,
was,
this slide, they
yeah,
some looks like is this his vehicle being towed here?
that's what they told the media, told the public, and the FBI told the public is that he drove a gray Dodge Challenger, and that a gray Dodge Challenger was seen driving in that area prior to the shooting. That's just me pointing out kind of what I'm about to walk people through. I'm just saying, here's the photo of the vehicle, and we're going to talk about the vehicle. So you want to move on from
Okay.
the police station? You want to move on from the police station to the vehicle?
Okay. I have.
Okay. So in the later slides, when we just kind of look, this was just a photo of what they showed the vehicle. All right. Now, and there's not really much to talk about here. I'm just displaying, what we were told, what we saw on the ring cams. Uh, you know, there was a Great Dodge Challenger. Okay, I'm just pointing. I'm just pointing that out right here, and I'll explain that in the next few slides. I just kind of had a quick compilation of points that we were making.
Okay.
So the car, and again, coincidence. What I've said about coincidences. Gray Dodge Challengers are often used in unmarked police vehicles or unmarked government vehicles. Law enforcement, where they're often used nowadays. And so there's another, so-called coincidence or conspiracy, if people want to call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's a fact.
So
You know,
Tyler Robinson's driving a Charger that a lot of police use as undercover vehicles, correct?
yeah, I'm just pointing that out. I'm not really saying anything. I'm not really saying anything other than what I've told already about.
It's just a coincidence. It could be a coincidence that
Could be a
he just
coincidence.
happens to
How
drive
many
a
coincidences?
Charger,
Yeah. How
and
many?
police officers do too in an undercover fashion, correct?
Yes, I'm saying, how many coincidences are you and I going to talk about today? before,
Yeah.
people start to piece all of this together and it gets found out, you know. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't mean to try and interrupt you. I want you to talk to your show, but I was just trying to.
No, 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 not no, you're what matters here. Again,
Thank you.
let's continue on. And again, basically what you were doing is you are telling us what it is that we are looking at. So in the next slide, let's see here, this one,
Oh, that was the address.
information of person of interest. Now, what are we looking at here?
That's Tyler James Photo's alleged address, and I think the previous slide also was Tyler James Robinson's address, with the car there. Oh yeah, forgot about this one. This was it not his address? Yeah, that was just basically his age and, addresses. He was listed to live in Washington, Utah. Um, and then
Uh,
there's your
Okay.
Amber Denise Robinson there.
All right.
Um,
And Tyler J. Beddoes, as we mentioned, back to him. This this slide shows what?
oh, they're just a few minutes away from each other, both in Washington County. Uh, sorry. So he lives in St. George, Utah. Uh, since is that 2024 or 2014? I'm not sure, but it is located within the same county, so within a few minutes of driving. These two probably would have known each other, ran into each other, had lunch at the same
Saw each other
place,
at the store, sure.
got Starbucks.
Comparison of media coverage and FBI intelligence. We're on to the next slide. Uh, Based on footage, both the FBI and media sources, the suspect was concealing a rifle in limp without considering the possibility the limp was from jumping off the building. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. A shooter used a backpack similar to many backpacks used to carry target gear or collapsible rifles. Shooter did not appear to have a limp while going up and down the stairs,
Okay.
nor did he have a bulge in his pants, and certainly not. Multiple witnesses told both media and law enforcement many vehicles were seen coming and going without state license plates
Out of
around the St. George, Utah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
out of state, meaning they were not Utah. Media coverage. I'll just go ahead and explain that. Media coverage said that prior to the shooting in the last week or 2 weeks, there was a lot of out of state vehicles with license plates other than Utah, coming in and out of Tyler J. Robinson's uh, place of residence. So a lot of people said, there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, wouldn't it? You think that that's an involvement of government agency or something like that?" And it kind of it kind of looks like that if you think about the gray Challenger that was found, and this page, I'll just go ahead and tell you, is basically just what we were talking about in the previous slides. It's just a summary of pretty much everything that we covered. And maybe if you want to go through it and just read it, and if there's one thing that we haven't talked about or you want to talk
Well,
about
here's the
first?
thing. Discord denies the findings of online post regarding Kirk's assassination of any admissions of guilt or anything remotely close to a confession. The FBI has left the tip hotline open and continuing their investigation despite the fact their main suspect is in custody. Now, that seems to be what they're arguing about here. So, let's start with Discord. Discord denies findings of online posts, and the FBI has left the tip hotline open and is continuing the investigation when they claim they got their man. That's suspicious, is it not?
Yeah.
It is to me. It is to a lot of
You
people.
think if if got the guy, they'd not have that tip anymore. I mean, they'd not have that reward money anymore. But we did discuss earlier, and that's when I said earlier that we'll talk about that later. Is the Discord thing? You would think, as a $1 billion company, that you would have a lot, or I don't know if they're billion, but they're making money. You know, you'd think if you had a corporation and somebody was talking about that sort of thing, you would openly throw them under the bus just to avoid any kind of liability or backlash. You know, but since Discord has come out and say no, nothing like that's happened, you know, they would be the first ones to say it, you know. And you know, a lot of times just I do want to talk about this because I actually had to go take my phone in today. Is there's this thing called cloning, right? Um, if he was in police custody, okay. Now, I don't know exactly how it works with encrypted apps or media, but I do know that it grants you certain access to sessions. Um, so you can actually take a cell phone or a cell phone that is somebody else's and yours. Okay, and this is a real thing. This is not Hollywood. That's why I'm saying I don't know its true capabilities because I've never really done it, but I know it happens and it exists. You can take two cell phones, set them side by side, hook their Bluetooth up, and run a program and clone this phone onto this phone. So now this individual
Sure.
will have access to all of your accounts and they can just type whatever they want. Okay.
Correct.
And that's not legal. Of course not. That's not legal. I don't know. I think that those programs were made for people that got locked out of their phones or something, and they get abused by people. I don't want to make allegations against law enforcement, but
No, of
you know,
course.
the option to for law enforcement to abuse his cell phone and his rights to privacy is on the table while he's in custody. They can pretty much we're having cases all over the country, all over the United States where people are just getting abused left and right. You know, their rights are being trampled, you know, dragged out of their homes, shot in their own homes because they think the cops are coming to rob them. Nobody knows, you know, it's just horrible. But I'm just going to point that out there is that that is a very viable thing that's very capable of, like I said, we live in a day and age where nothing is private anymore. You know, everything
Nothing is private.
being digitized. You know, I like video games. Okay. Probably ended my marriage. I like video games and I like I like physical media. You know, I like CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. I don't there is value in having a collection of media and physical digital products in your home because you know what happens if Congress comes on and says, "Well, we don't like Netflix one day and we want to pass a bill to ban every
Eliminate it. Yeah.
video game, you know, video games are the cause of Charlie Kirk's death and they make kids violent. They started the Columbine shooting, and we just want to outlaw all these digital things. Well, the only copy you would have is in your hand. So we live in that time where nothing is our own anymore. It's all stored on a freaking cloud, and you know, um, it's hackable and people can get into it. And I had to take my phone today because it was overheating and not charging properly, and the battery is draining, which are signs that it might have malware on. And the only thing the guy can do is wipe it clean. And then I got to figure out, because I'm also not an expert, I got to figure out how to back up all my files in my phone, because my phone has important stuff just like this, just like my computer has important things like that, like what I'm sharing now. Um,
Sure.
I'm
Now,
experiencing.
let me interrupt you real quick because this
Oh,
is
go ahead.
interesting here.
Go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
possible involvement of a group involved with the murder, possibility of a cover up, possible involvement of personal, religious, financial motivations other than political, possibility that Tyler James Robinson was simply present at the wrong time, wrong place, and may have actually intended on having a debate with Kirk rather than to shoot him. I'm not understanding this slide, and I apologize. What am I looking for here? Are we
So,
saying now that it might not have been him?
well, that was something that I wrote at that time. Okay. Um, but like I said, when forensics came back and they said, "Hey, we can't match that bullet," that's when I started sending
Yes.
out, "We can't match the bullet to that gun." Okay, that's when I started, because at the time I did consider that he was completely innocent. Okay, um, but I thought, well, nobody wants to hear it, and I kind of just put it on the back burner. Um, so now for me, I'm not saying that I think he's innocent, but I'm saying if I was on a jury, if I was on a jury who's tasked with having to end a young man's life, I would find it very hard with all the things that is being presented. You have no bullet, you know. I haven't heard of any. I didn't see him with a gun. Okay, it's hard to make it out whether that's actually him in the video. And I said I wanted to touch on this later, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. Is that may be a part of it, is, as you say, a patsy or someone who's caught just to keep everybody's attention away from the real thing. He could that could have been his intention all along. It's just to get caught and let the mess up of the old cameras and the let not being able to match anything from ballistics and whatever. Because at the end of the day, if you can't prove that bullet came from that gun, you don't really have much of a case. I find it hard pressed as a jury member to look at all of that and say that I want to be responsible to end a young man's life who's not even
Yeah.
legally old enough to drink. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's,
Right.
but I'd say I'd be very, very difficult for me to say that he's guilty at this point. And I had that feeling and that intuition just from my past, some of the jobs that I have worked, you know, I had that feeling from the get go. But as time went on, they started saying, "Oh, we got his fingerprints. Oh, we got the Discord. Oh, we got letters, and people want to come out and talk about him, witness against him." And I thought, okay, well, it's over. I was wrong. And then they came out and said, and I don't know how many weeks or months ago was it. Like I said, I don't always keep in touch. Came out and said, "Oh, well, now we can't match the bullet." Do you know how long ago that was?
Mm,
Do you know how long ago it
mm.
was?
What, the assassination?
No,
As opposed to
they came out and said that they can't match that
no, it was
projectile.
about 2 months ago, I think.
Oh, really?
So, again, I had said on my show that, this was about 6 months, and we finally got this information.
Oh, the ones that I sent you? Or 2 you said 2 months for when they came out with the forensics?
That is what I was tracking. Like, he was shot in September 2025, and it was what? On or about March 2026 when they started talking about the ballistics evidence. The bullet fragments may not match the
September
rifle, the
26th.
weapon. Is that right?
I think so, that was just a month ago, right? Maybe almost 2 months now?
Yes, yeah, yeah, in that area, sure.
I just heard it like a week or 2 ago, and when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, damn, well, maybe I wasn't wrong." Because I slept on this for a long time, Joe.
Right.
You know, I'm thinking, "Okay, well, I've got answers that nobody's listening, nobody cares because everybody's saying that he did it, he's guilty." He doesn't look innocent, but like I said, I'm not gonna say the guy's innocent, but he was there, and as a human being and a father of 2 kids, I'd find it very difficult in my heart to, on that evidence, say that he's a cold-blooded killer, you know? Whatever his lifestyle or alternative lifestyle that has been told, and that could be a lie as well. We're being my point is, like I said, no allegations, but from what I found, we are being lied to our face. Literally, the media is lying to our face about what is going on. They're telling us some truth, but then they're withholding, you know, things that are important. Like if there is an organization out there that helped organize this, and it looks like there is because I have a name and the owner, and I pointed it out to people, is people should know that. If it wasn't people allegedly that have worked in law enforcement, this would be labeled as domestic terrorism, and it's being swept under the rug. And I thought about, do I want to be responsible if people see what I have to say and there's a riots and because this sort of thing happens, and this could be being withheld just for that reason, just to have the image that police officers are all good and they don't, do bad things. We all know that's bullshit because there's cameras. Like I said, there's cameras everywhere. Police got them. We got them. Their cars got them. They have to because they can't act right. And I am not against law enforcement at all. Okay, but I am
Of
against.
course not.
I'm against morons who are allowed to
Mhm.
irresponsible, low life, people that want to act, like thugs who are allowed to walk around in body armor with loaded guns. As a parent, you want to teach. I was always taught whatever a police officer tells you, just say yes, sir. Okay,
Sure. Me too. I still
you know,
do.
but that's not always the best choice in this day and age. Sometimes you say yes, sir, and that's how you get screwed. You know, and
Well, let me ask you this. Here's how I want to conclude.
okay, you want to
Do
answer?
you think Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger? And if he did he act alone, or is this part
Oops,
whatever reason they wanted Charlie Kirk
okay.
to be assassinated?
You cut out for about the last 30 seconds. I didn't hear you. Your whole
Okay.
thing cut out.
All right, hold on. My camera seemed to
Your camera
switch
and your
here.
audio.
1 second. Let's try. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. We're back. So basically, here's the question that the folks have, I have, everyone has. Did Tyler Robinson pull the trigger? Did he assassinate Charlie Kirk with a firearm on 10 September 2025? And if so, were others involved? Was this a conspiracy to kill that young man in front of the world? To conclude, Mark Feltner, what say you? I'll give you the last word.
Oh, we're in the show now?
Yes.
Okay. I think that that's what's gonna have to be proven is that he pulled the trigger, and from what I've shown and what we talked about, we're already being fed so much bullcrap from media, from FBI, and I think I told you before, there's a lot of people who formerly worked in intelligence coming forward and saying, "This is a larger group. This is a larger group." And that is a question that I wanted to answer. The biggest thing was, did he act alone? Did he pull the trigger? I don't know because I don't know if factually they have his fingerprints on the gun. You know, they might have his fingerprints on the handrails where he walked up the stairs, but you know, at this point, there's so much bullcrap being fabricated in mainstream media that we don't know what to think. And like I said, I would be hard pressed to find him guilty of pulling the trigger of murder. I would be hard pressed because I don't know, you know, I wouldn't know if I didn't have this information. Okay, what I'm trying to share with people, I wouldn't know what's fact and what's not because it's all being projected onto us that the police are the good guys and that the FBI has him in custody and they caught him in 36 hours and job well done. And the takeaway here is the message is everybody says, ask, or they have these theories. Did he act alone? The evidence points to no, he did not act alone. And the evidence indicates that there might be possible former law enforcement that are not, that are experiencing problems and need help. That's what I saw. It's what I put together. And it was all based off of facts and publicly available information for anybody to watch this and go through it, pause the video and look at the names. You can research it yourself. Stop making up all these crazy Hollywood stories about microphones exploding or, second shooter on the grassy knoll or, there was a guy in the window who shot him from this angle. Stop all that and just look at what was available and what happened in that time frame. That's what I did. Uh, did I answer all of those questions? I think I might have missed one or two.
No, no. You hit the nail right on the head. And what you did, Mark Feltner, was as a concerned individual, see the same reports that I see, the same media that I see, hear the same thing from the FBI that I hear, and investigated this matter not only as someone who former military, but who is a certified bodyguard. And again, I think the work you did has been as good as any. That's what you're doing here. And let me say this in closing. Graciously appreciate you taking some time with us today, Mark Feltner. You did I think, a very nice job at putting together this presentation. And what we will, of course, do is let the audience decide. And Mark Feltner, we appreciate you taking some time to be with us today, sir.
Okay, thank you, Joe, for giving me the opportunity to share this with everybody. And I just hope that people finally have some kind of grounding to, stop making up silly stories if they're so concerned about what goes on in the community, they should be looking it up themselves. Like I said, nothing we do is private anymore, and there's an avenue to find the information that we want. We don't have to be like children in kindergarten and use our imagination and have an imaginary friend, or we don't have to do that anymore. It's all available right there in
Absolutely.
common sense. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you. And as always, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, we do appreciate it. Please don't forget to adopt yourself a pet. I say God bless you, and we will see you next time.